So the next guest on the Giant Minds podcast is Marina Traversari, who has done so much in her career that it's really going to be very jam-packed and makes us all feel slightly inadequate. So if you can put that fear aside and think about all the amazing things that she's managed to do and achieve in her career, there's so much in there that I think we can learn from and draw out to make sure that what we're doing is also really effective and delivers a lot of impact. So grab a cup of coffee and I hope you enjoy. Marina, thanks very much for coming and joining us on the Giant Minds podcast.
You're very, very welcome.
Yeah, really good to have you here. You've done so much and been through so many things that are super interesting that I don't really know where to start. So why don't you start just by walking us through a bit of the journey, and we'll take it piecemeal because there's so much interesting stuff out there that I'm sure we can dig into.
Okay. I think we need to start right at the very beginning because it maybe would be an indicator of my drivers to where we are now. So I'm from an Irish-Italian family. I'm first in family to go to university. And I grew up on a council estate, and the options looked pretty bleak, to be honest, kind of career-wise, where to go, what to do. And
so this was a council estate in Ireland, were you?
Yeah. And then we moved to Staffordshire.
Right.
So I went to school, my formative years between Belfast and Staffordshire during the time of the Troubles as well.
Right.
So I learnt a lot about resilience and drive. And I think a lot of what I do now stems from that. So a lot of the ED&I kind of driving, ensuring people have access to information, careers advice, information advice and guidance, career opportunities, opportunities for women, being a huge advocate for women in tech. So yeah, kind of was my driver. So that's my starting point.
So social mobility was
Yes.
kind of like a really big thing for you.
Yeah. I didn't have anybody, we didn't have family friends who could advise me on, which career options to take to drive my career, or even give me work experience, and those things really open up young people to opportunities. So yeah, I didn't have that.
It's amazing. So we quite often try and get young people from kind of disadvantaged backgrounds into Ghoston when we can for just code clubs and things like that. And the feedback we get is actually the biggest impact is just seeing the environment, and you just forget that. Yeah. Like people don't have that.
Yeah.
For people who have privileged backgrounds like myself, you're just not aware that loads of people don't know what an office looks like. They don't know they just don't have a window into that sort of career at all.
No, absolutely. If you can't see it, you can't be it. And if you don't, you don't know what you don't know. So from that starting point, I suppose I was quite driven and wanted to get out of, really change my life. Then if we jump, good 20 years, 25 years, I moved to Bristol as a single mum with a 3-year-old. I decided then I was working in logistics for Summerfield supermarkets. And my boss, he was the head of logistics, and he said, Marina, you're absolutely fantastic. However, this is the wrong career for you. Go back to uni. So I went back to uni as a mature student. I'd done a year previously in York, and then took some time out due to a death in the family. And then we went. It's
quite a bold move as a single mum deciding to just go back to uni.
Yeah. With a 3-year-old on my own in a city where I had no family, so no real support network. So I went back to uni. I finished my degree, came away with a 2-1.
Can I ask what made you take that advice?
Because I was first in family to go to uni. Because I could see the career opportunities that would be open to me if I had a degree, it would be easier for me to do so. Even as a single mum, I still wanted to kind of.
So you could really see the opportunity that lay behind it, and because I think that that ability to see delayed gratification, to see like future benefit, there's some psychology studies saying like that's quite a predictor of success, actually, the ability to kind of put off today's gain for tomorrow's. So that obviously runs strong in you.
Great.
Yeah.
So I did a graduate placement scheme from uni. I did 3 years with Calling the Shots, which is a production company, which no longer exists, unfortunately, but really cut my teeth in TV and film. I oversaw Mini Masterpieces for 3 years, which was a collaboration between The Watershed and Encounters Film Festival. And basically, young filmmakers could come and pitch their idea, and if they were selected, we made it over the 3 days of the festival.
Cool.
Yeah, which it was long days, really exciting.
Yeah, it's quite intense. 3 days to do a complete thing.
Yeah, turn it around. Then went on to oversee BBC Three Shorts. Worked my way up from AP to PC, PM, AD, first AD, AP. Sorry, I'm using letters. Production coordinator, production manager. Production coordinator, production manager, assistant director, first assistant director, associate producer. And then I worked for 10 years across the city region in various production companies and media, community media production companies, which is really important to me around that. Again, referencing back to my roots, I suppose, the new talents and diversifying the voices that are coming out and the stories being told are really important to me. By the time I got to Icon Films here in Bristol, I was production resource manager stroke deputy head of production. So we had to keep an eye on not only like the technological advancements of production, cameras, and editing, and the impacts on the storytelling and how they go hand in hand, but also people and resources in terms of handbooks, production handbooks, and so all that maintenance of there's governance, there's admin, there's people, HR, technology, so multifaceted kind of view on what I had to do. At Icon, I championed Albert Sustainable Productions, so spearheaded that into Icon. So we're one of the first production companies in Bristol to bring in Albert.
Can you explain a bit more about what that is?
Albert is a way of measuring your impact on your production. So how sustainable it is, how then if you measure first, then you can mitigate. So measuring what you're doing. And then you have sustainability goals set by the BBC, because Albert was originally just BBC, and then focusing on that and then trying to reduce your impact. So one example.
I can see a thread starting here. Yeah.
So one example was looking at it was Love Productions actually, not Icon, and looking at, then everybody had plastic water bottles on set or on location. And doing some analysis on the P&L, the profit and loss, and on the budget, they spent £30,000 on water with plastic. And this was like, right, okay, can everybody just get a water bottle? Can we just do that and write our names on it? Yeah. So that's slowly starting to do some analysis, see how we can create some better impact and reduce the environmental impact of production. So jumping from TV, I worked my way up from the bottom to almost the top, and then thought, I'm not really having the impact that I want to have. I made some incredible documentaries, social documentaries, oversaw natural history productions, but it just didn't feel like I was getting the traction that I wanted. So I moved over to the LEP, random move, I know, which is now the West of England Combined Authority, and headed up an innovation project around skills in the priority sectors, 4 priority sectors here in Bristol. So tech, creative, engineering, and professional legal services. So my knowledge from creative and with my tech analysis over the years and keeping up to date with the progress of tech. And then started to really find out around influencing policy, working within the LEP and overseeing, project managing a big project and looking at careers advice within and skills and those career pathways. understanding the importance of partnership working across the city region and to gain maximum impact from the work that we were doing. And I think from there I discovered the tech sector group.
Can I ask just on that, on that move from production to sort of more policy influence stuff?
Yeah.
How did you find the shift from being able to make quite on the ground, concrete, measurable improvements to it being much more kind of second-hand, gentle influence,
really
longer
hard.
term?
Yeah, really, really hard. And I think also being quite senior within TV and moving into a new sector, maybe a sidestep once down, having less influence as well was really difficult. But also you're in a different environment that takes a lot longer lead time. It's a bit like that corporate to startup jump, you know.
Yeah. But on the other hand, you've got the potential for much bigger impacts longer terms in terms of what you're doing. But just that difficulty and the sort of the slowness and resistance that you kind of must come across along the way must be a little frustrating.
Yeah, very, especially when it's all partnership approach. So you're working with local government, you're working with academia. Everyone moves at a different pace. You know, the bigger the organisation, the slower they are in some respects. You know, the oil tanker example. But it was challenging, but we had some positive impact across the city region, which I'm really proud of. And then from there, I was asked to join Oracle, which I ended up heading up. UK the first year, UK, Ireland, Nordics, and Germany the second year. And I saw an opportunity to really create some change around the companies that we were onboarding onto the accelerator.
So give us a flavour for kind of who was coming onto the accelerator. What stage was that? What were they trying to do?
Let's take one step back. So Oracle wanted high growth startups with high performance compute, lots of data that were going to crunch through crowd credits and be really good customers at the end. Yeah. That was Oracle's objective. My objective was to find that with startups or scale-ups, well, it was startups because it was Startup Accelerator, that one, to find startups who were really focusing on either societal or environmental impact. So we had the likes of Let Us Grow, Gap Square, Interactive Scientific, Dual. I'm trying to think, these are kind of the local startups. We had London startups that were AI focused, machine learning. So some really deep tech, you know, data science.
And this is when they're mostly just a couple of people trying to crunch through an idea.
Yeah. So pre-revenue or very, very early stage or paid POCs. You know, they're looking for product market fit, or they've just about found it, or they're looking to pivot. And so did that for 2 years.
And what did you see your kind of key role in that ecosystem as being?
I wanted to drive sustainable change and really support the local ecosystem with one of the, the big four's budget, basically. Yeah. It's just like, well, if we have, Oracle or Facebook or Google, let's try and leverage that for a positive gain as well.
Help them actually make a difference.
Yeah. Have a positive impact.
And actually, I think there's always plenty of people at the big companies who do want to do that and just struggle to be able to make it happen a lot of the time. And I know it's very easy to hate on them and kind of complain about disproportionate wealth distribution and all that sort of stuff. But where we can help, we should, right? I mean, because there's a whole resource there that we can put to work.
Yeah, and there are business benefits, obviously, that we all know about in terms of attracting talent and how how your business reflects out into the large, into the world, and having, if you're a B Corp and you're being really positive in terms of what you're trying to achieve. So, and that ends up on your bottom line and your revenue. So there's a strong link between doing the right thing for the planet and doing the right thing for the purse as well, isn't there? 100%.
Which probably brings us on to the next bit.
What's the next bit? Oh, well,
There's probably a couple of things.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking of Sage, but
Sage,
is there things in between?
So things in between. So let's do very quickly. Where are we? We're Oracle. I went to Facebook. I headed up a global team at Facebook. So HQ in San Francisco. We worked closely in partnership with BT, DT, and SKT, British Telecom, Deutsche Telekom, South Korean Telecom, and I basically headed that up all over lockdown. So fantastic, I was working. Also fantastic that any virtual event I had, I could get really senior people on panels because everyone was at home. So super successful. And again, leveraging that for local companies. So working with TechSpark and Ben, asking Ben, which of the companies out there within the telecommunications space. We're looking AR, VR, 5G, MEC, mobile edge compute, high performance compute, those sorts of wraparounds, deep tech, telecommunications. And he introduced me to condensed reality. I convinced Nick to apply. He pitched, they weren't successful. However, it was the start of a beautiful relationship between Condensed and BT, which I think's still ongoing. So, just little positive impactful drops along the way. That's where I'm aiming, leveraging the corporate for the startup gain and societal gain, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then, then Facebook to Spherix.
Yeah.
So I was asked to join Spherix as COO. They were a carbon accounting startup. They were a year old when I joined. I believe they had their first paying customer the day before I joined.
Wow.
And exactly a year later, we exited to Sage for a substantial amount.
Yeah, that's it. So it's a really interesting success story because I think we were actually possibly one of the early customers there as well.
You were.
Yeah. So that's I think a really interesting story of combining tech and societal impact, but also merging the like what's good for the bottom line with what's good for the planet. So a lot of people won't know who Spherix are. Do you want to kind of give a little overview?
Spherix, Bristol-based company, carbon accounting-based company, 3 founders with different specialities. And the COO was very focused on doing psychotherapy. So which really helped in terms of working with the team as well, especially going into lockdown. And I basically took over from him because he was going off on paternity leave. But yeah, local, we were remote first. The company was formed to do business differently and better. Mm-hmm. We acquired B Corp status just after I joined. It wasn't down to me. It was down to our amazing B Corp lead, Rebecca Burgess.
So how much did you have to kind of, you had to put in the processes, but was that sort of a natural part of just growing as an organisation as Spherix, or was that part of kind of fitting into the culture at Sage?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That first year, you're cosseted from the bigger organisation. You've got the change management team, and you're being handheld through the process. But as soon as that annual window hits, you're completely on your own, and you're in the corporate, and you've got to make it work. All about stakeholder management. For me, the biggest lesson I learned, I think, in corporate is stakeholder management. And being taken seriously as a woman in tech. I have to say I was really surprised at Sage. They have a really strong female leadership team. They have incredible vision and values. They really felt like a startup, even though 11,000 employees worldwide across 26 countries. And they really feel like an American tech company when they're a UK PLC. So I was quite surprised at Sage.
It's always amazing how the leadership affects the whole organisation without it, like unintentionally a lot of the time as well, isn't it? So like simply just having visible female figures on a leadership team suddenly makes, like without any actual action, it's literally just them being there, makes it much more acceptable and makes women much more listened to throughout the organisation, things like that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And as you say, you have to see it to be. If you can't see it, you can't be it. And it's really important then when you are a senior female leader in those positions that you don't pull up the ladder behind you and you mentor and support. And I think having that open door policy for me is super important. I mentor, now I mentor or support or am a NED of, I think 12 startups or scale-ups.
I really don't know how you find this. Marina.
I think one of my friends said about 10 years ago, I'm one of the most organised people she knows. And I think maybe that helps. And my brain I'm a multi-plate spinner. I also think having cutting your teeth in TV is a little bit like national service. And you're doing 10, 12-hour days, you're on location. When I started, there was quite a toxic environment, it's been, across all the media. We don't need to go into that. And I think, and my background, growing up on a council estate, being a single mum.
Well, I was wondering whether single parenthood might actually be a root creator of some of that organisation, because I noticed as a co-parent, not a single parent, like my level of organisation had to really step up. Kids, you're kind of just forced to.
Yeah.
Otherwise life just doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how much more organised you have to be to do all that on your own.
And then showing up as a woman in business, you have to be 10 times better than the men in front of you. Yeah. So I was very, very driven. I think I've chilled out a little bit now. About 20 years, 25 years on.
We all mellow with age a little bit, though, I think, don't we?
Yeah. And I do try and, looking at the female element within tech, it's a real focus for me, not exclusively, but there is a real focus to support female founders. So I'm an advisor to Gritty Talent and Mel Rodriguez. So that, from the basis of my TV background, wanting to ensure that on and off screen talent were more representative of the audiences in the city region that we were producing in. Hannah Vandenberg at MPK Recovery, who's based up in Future Space, really exciting project around extracting all the nasty stuff from wee and making it into a fertiliser. So looking at that process. Philippa Roberts of Binnett down in Exeter. So again, circular economy, SaaS product attached to that, around waste and what we do with our waste and how we manage that. So there's a real focus around sustainability and environmental impact of the companies that I support, or media and inclusion. So another one in Bristol is Under the Wing, which is a video content production company that focuses on supporting young people into TV. Yeah. And there's there's a few more.
It's more than I can keep track of, certainly. I don't know how you keep track of them all. There's some really fascinating stats. I don't have them on the tips of my fingers around female founders. But they basically point to the fact that they're a good bet.
Yeah.
Because the failure rate is actually a lot lower, even though the investment rate is also massively lower.
There's a massive funding gap. I think might get the percentages wrong, but it's really low. It's like 3 to 4% of VC funding goes to all female founding teams. And if you simply switch to a male and a female, that increases exponentially. So yes, there is a gap. There's a lot of work and a lot of discourse around this problem. And there has been, for a number of years now, and some key people within the city region really trying to do something about it. And some really credible VCs now, like Veda Ventures and Maven Capital, for example, both have female founder funds.
Probably just driven by the maths.
Actually, absolutely. It's a bit of a no-brainer. And if you think about the diversity within your teams as well, we talked about the bottom line. It drives your productivity. In terms of that diversification, and then increases your bottom line, people, planet, profit.
Yeah, and it avoids you missing things a lot more, I think, is one of the key key reasons. Yeah, sort of helps eradicate the blind spots.
Yeah.
Right, so lots of threads there around getting tech to work for social advantage and economic advantage, of startups turning into corporates and business ideas emerging, of supporting other people in their endeavours and what they're doing. Where's this leading now?
Where's this leading now? My own passion project, not a side hustle anymore, it's a passion project, is Chilled Squirrels. So Chilled Squirrels,
great name.
Thank you, and squirrels plural, not singular. We founded, my husband and I, in 2017, and it's a nature-based solution, ecotourism. That's what it originally, we just wanted to buy woodland and build tree houses. And the vision was an Ewok village, eventually in Scotland or somewhere. Then I acquired a site for a proof of concept, acquired a grant from DEFRA. Then we went, Brexit and lockdown happened. So lost the grant, lost the site, put squirrels into dormancy at Company's House.
Do squirrels hibernate?
Well, I've been saying hibernation, put it into hibernation, and then I said, yes, they do, but then I've said it so many times, and people have turned around and said, but don't you put companies into dormancy? And I was like, oh, right, okay, so that's why.
Maybe they could have torpor or something.
So yeah, that went onto the back burner whilst I was working at Facebook, and then onto Spherix and Sage.
Just an idea that's been around a while.
It has been around a while. There are a few people in the ecosystem will probably be so sick of hearing me talk about it, because we've done lots of speed networking events at the Engine Shed years ago where I've been talking about it. If you ask Ben Shorrock, he'll be like, oh God, she's off again. But hopefully this time it will actually take off and we'll properly launch. So utilising the original vision for off-grid sustainable ecotourism, but now combined with lots of tech knowledge and my TV background. So looking at the sites actually having a biodiversity net gain, so really sustainable tourism. So instead of having a negative impact, it will have a positive impact.
And biodiversity net gain's now becoming like a really importantly recognised thing, much more globally, but especially nationally, and housing developers having targets on it and all sorts
So combining that with the tech element of looking at biodiversity net gain, utilising camera traps, which we used in TV 15 years ago on shoots for natural history, utilising AI and sensors to record the bird sounds, looking at different nascent technologies that are coming out that we could work in partnership with, or it could be a proof of concept site for additional tech to bring in and support. But basically, Chilled Squirrels is a nature-based solution, ecotourism combined with the tech element. So there are two avenues, as it were, that come together to then monitor and show the positive impact of the sites, which will then hopefully, we have two sites we're assessing at the moment, but with a view that then we can leverage big business money to then support the biodiversity net gain procedure within the sites. So it won't only be the people staying on site that will bring in the finances, but it will be financed via the environmental impact as well.
Great, and potential then also to provide that technology to lots of other people to measure their biodiversity net gain. Yeah, which is something people have to do now. So
which they should be doing, which is great.
And if you can get tech to help with that, then that sounds brilliant. And what a cool challenge as a technologist to use tech for that. Just the power now of image recognition and all those things that weren't around 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that nascent technology that was coming out when I was running the Oracle Accelerator, looking at agri-tech, and I was blown away. This is all the different possibilities, and we've come so far since then, and the next 10 years is so exciting where this technology is going to go and how it's going to have impact us all. I think best to embrace it now and see how we can make it work. for positive.
I remember when I was at school trying to measure the wildlife in 1 metre squared.
Yeah, I remember doing that.
And it being like such a labour-intensive activity, and you probably seeing like maybe like 2% of the species that are in that metre squared. And you've got like 6 kids all trying to look at it all. So like the ability to apply a tech solution to that and just gather so much more data than we could possibly have through human measurement is really cool, really exciting.
And then thinking about, having weeks or days where we don't have staying guests, and we can invite school groups and we can share some learning and open up to, doing that full circular loop back in terms of that career advice and guidance, and, seeing, being there to be seen, and you don't know what you don't know. And bring kids along and let them play and explore and then find out and then look at the technology and, just simple little things to engage individuals from quite an early age, and then to drive behaviours going forward.
And there's something just inherently lovely about tree houses as well, isn't there? I mean, I think, so we've got a tree house at home, and every time I take a grown up up there, I swear they lose 10 years. It's like just momentarily, you kind of revert a little bit to a childlike state. And I think it brings out the best in us, some of the things that we lose. Yeah, agreed. Absolutely agreed. I think I always used to love making dens when I was growing up. And that was kind of the next stage to a wicked den, isn't it? Yeah,
having
absolutely.
A tree house.
Yeah, it's levelling up. Yeah, for sure. Marina, it's been fantastic. I feel like I could talk to you about this stuff for ages and ages, and there must be 1,000 other stories we haven't touched upon that we could explore. But we're going to have to save those for another time. Thank you so much for coming and joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for asking me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks.